Hi, and welcome back to Book Wizards. We're on week 4 of our story, and we are currently reading Geronimo Stilton's The Mummy with No Name. When we left off last week, Geronimo had quite the problem. He's still being chased by this mummy, and now he's lost the papyrus too. So he's got a lot of work to do this week. Let's see if Geronimo can solve the mystery. After a lot of work, we finished searching the whole Egyptian Museum. But we didn't find the missing papyrus or the treasure. Luckily, Professor Sandsnout had a plan. Let's go back to the underground chamber where I found the mummy with no name. Maybe we'll find something there, he suggested. Oh no, I thought. Not the basement. I hate basements. They're so dark and cold, and some are crawling with bugs. Did I tell you I hate bugs? I bit my lip and followed the others with shaky paws. The professor led the way down the old spiral staircase. The flickering candle he held in his paw made spooky shadows on the walls. Down, down, down we went until we reached the underground chamber. I looked around. The place was packed with stuff, just like the professor had said. Urns, chests, bowls, statues, and everything was covered in dust. What a pigsty! Didn't any mouse ever clean up around here? This place was almost as bad as Pack Rat Pete's living room. That rodent never threw anything away. Professor Sandsnout put the candle on the floor. This is where I found the golden sarcophagus that held the mummy with no name, he explained. There was so much dust, I could hardly breathe. I began to panic. What if I was having a life-threatening asthma attack? Then I remembered, oh, I don't have asthma. What a relief! I relaxed. I stared at the dusty floor. That's when I noticed some strange footprints. I pointed them out to the professor, and we decided to follow them. The footprints led to a trap door on the floor. The professor grabbed the heavy metal ring on the door and pulled with all his might. Heave-ho! He squeaked. The door popped open. I was impressed. Who knew Professor Sandsnout had such strong muscles? We all peered down into the hole. It's a secret chamber, the professor exclaimed. Let's go down and check it out. I began twisting my tail up in knots. Oh, how did I get myself into these scary, fur-raising situations? One by one, we climbed down into the chamber. It was as dark as my mouse hole at midnight. Just then, a gust of wind blew out our candle, and a loud thump echoed all around us. Everyone gasped. That thump could only mean one thing. Someone, or something, had just shut the trap door on us. At that moment, we heard the mummy's raspy voice moaning, "You will never get out," it cried. My tummy flip-flopped. "Professor, please tell me there's another exit," I pleaded. In the dark, Professor Sandsnout sighed. "No, there isn't. We have about an hour of air. Let's try hard to breathe slowly and not move around. That way we can conserve the oxygen," he suggested. I went into full panic mode. My fur began to drip with sweat. My paws shook. My whiskers twitched uncontrollably. I shrieked like a newborn mouselet. "Geronimo, don't get excited. You're using up the oxygen," the professor scolded. "Yeah, Uncle G, keep your fur on," Bugsy added. I clamped a paw over my mouth. We were trapped in a giant tomb. I tried to remember one of the relaxing exercises I had learned from my yoga teacher, Penny Pretzelpaws. Before I could figure it out, an idea popped into my head. I told the professor to get on my shoulders. Then I told Benjamin to climb on top of the professor's shoulders. Finally, I told Bugsy to get on Benjamin's shoulders. Cheesecake! My idea worked. We had formed our very own rodent ladder. Once Bugsy was at the top, she was able to push the trapdoor open. Cheese niblets, my friends weighed a lot. Bugsy scampered out. Then she came back with a rope. One by one, she helped to pull us out of the dark underground chamber. I was so glad to be free that I started bawling again. Everyone stared at me. I turned bright red. Luckily, a strange swishing sound took the attention off of me. Someone was hiding in the darkness. I turned around just in time to spot her. It was the little old cleaning lady. She had the strangest look on her snout. "Nice weather we're having," she said. That's when I noticed something sticking out of her purse. It was the rolled papyrus. My eyes nearly popped out of my fur. "Madam, give us back the papyrus," I squeaked. "Papyrus? What papyrus?" the old lady mumbled. Then she took off like a shot. I was amazed. She was kicking up her paws like an Olympic track rat. She raced towards the stairs, snickering and leaving only a cloud of dust behind her. Bugsy and Benjamin sprang into action. First, Bugsy grabbed the papyrus with one paw. Then she reached for the old lady's hair. The little old lady was wearing a wig. Her real hair was long and blonde. Then Benjamin reached for her dress. Under it, the mouse wore a slinky black jumpsuit. With a snort, she whipped off false teeth and a rubber mask. "Holy jeez! I know who you are," I squeaked. "You're the Shadow." Everyone in New Mouse City had heard of the Shadow. She was a notorious thief who was known for her clever disguises. "That's right, Mousie. I am the Shadow," she boasted. S as in, I'll steal the cheese right from your paws. H as in, hand it over. A as in, I'll always be around. D as in, the darkness that surrounds me. O as in, oh, how I love to steal your stuff. W as in, watch your step. I'm waiting for you. "So you were the cleaning lady and the mummy," I exclaimed. "You wanted to scare everyone away from the museum so you could find the mummy's treasure." The Shadow smiled. She really was a gorgeous mouse. Too bad she was into stealing. But before I could say anything else, the Shadow began spraying something into the air. Putrid cheese puffs! She was spraying us with a cloud of dust, so thick that even my supersonic cheese slicer wouldn't be able to cut through it. We all began sneezing uncontrollably. Achoo! 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 As soon as the dust settled, I looked around. The Shadow had disappeared. "She got away again," I said, sighing, feeling down in the dumps. We had been searching so hard for the mummy's treasure, but we still came up empty-pawed. Just then Benjamin began tugging on my sleeve. I looked down and saw that he was holding a yellow sheet of paper. "What's this, Uncle Geronimo? Bugsy and I found it under a big wooden chest when we were trapped underground," he squeaked. I looked at the paper. I cleaned my glasses. I looked at the paper again. It couldn't be. But it was. Benjamin and Bugsy had found the missing piece of the papyrus. And that is where we end part 4. So we figured out one of the mysteries. We know who the mummy is. And we found the papyrus and the missing piece. But what is going to be on that missing piece of papyrus? And what is the mummy's treasure? We will have to wait and find out next week in part 5, our final part of Geronimo Stilton's The Mummy with No Name. I hope you're enjoying this story. We'll wrap it up next week, but first I have a special activity for you. When we met the Shadow, she did something pretty special. She wrote her name out, spelled out all the letters, and then said what each of the letters in her names represents. The H in her name represented handed over. The D in her name represented darkness. The W represented watch your step. So I have a task for you. I want you to spell out each of the letters in your name vertically, and then I want you to come up with a word or a phrase that starts with each of those letters that represents you. Show it to your parents or your friends and let them get to know a little bit more about what makes you you. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit better than what makes the Shadow, the evil criminal Shadow. That's it for this week. I will see you next week in our final part of The Mummy with No Name. Bye-bye.